In Czech homes, Christmas dinner isn't turkey or hamet's fish, one that swims in your bathtub before it reaches your plate. Christmas doesn't arrive with a bang. It arrives in whispers and bells that ring softly through frost-covered valleys, in songs that slowly rise from candlelit houses, in the way the snow seems to fall in rhythm with breathing. December here feels older, slower, as if the very air remembers something sacred. This is not a season of extravagance. It is a season of ritual, and every ritual begins with stillness. Across Prague's Gothic skyline, lights appear not in bursts, but in gentle glows. Villages in Moravia and Bohemia prepare not for spectacle, but for presence, a return to meaning after a long year. And as Advent begins, a kind of hush settles over the country, like a collective breath being held. Christmas in the Czech Republic is deeply tied to home, memory, and mystery. It is not meant to be loud, it is meant to be felt. If this story is touching you, let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. On the streets of Prague, the first signs of the season are not decorations, but music. Not from speakers, but from voices. Carollers appear often in small groups, singing songs that date back centuries. Their melodies wind through alleyways, float above bridges, and echo in courtyards where candles flicker in the windows. This is the country where good King Wenceslas, a carol known around the world, was born. But in its original form, it was not a carol. It was a story, a legend of a ruler who gave to the poor on a snowy feast day. In that way, the song captures the heart of the Czech Christmas: quiet generosity, acts of kindness carried out with no expectation. Inside homes, the preparation is sacred. The weeks before Christmas, Adventiny, are filled with subtle beauty, wreaths adorned with 4 candles, one for each Sunday leading to Christmas. Little by little, the light grows. Families light them not as routine, but as ceremony. A pause in the week, a marker of time slowing down. The Czech Republic is a land shaped by both Catholic tradition and post-communist secularism. And yet, even in households that no longer attend church, Christmas remains deeply spiritual. It is a time to reflect, to prepare the heart, to cleanse the space, not with cleaning products, but with intention. There is a saying here, Jack. TBD Takov Sel Rock. As goes Christmas Eve, so goes the whole year. And so, the day is approached with care. Peace is cultivated. Harmony is sought. Even the act of setting the table becomes a meditation. Each place setting considered, each candle lit with meaning. The name for Christmas Eve in Czech is Štědrý den, generous day, and that, too, says something. It's not Eve. It's not a prelude. It is the day itself, the emotional and spiritual center of the holiday, the culmination of all waiting. The day when what truly matters is made visible. Not gifts, but gestures. Not noise, but no. It is said that on this night, animals speak, wells open to reveal secrets, and the future can be seen in the flicker of a candle. Superstition, maybe, but in a country that has lived through empire, occupation, revolution, and rebirth, the line between the mystical and the real is thin and perhaps unnecessary, because on Štědrý den, whether in a Prague apartment or a countryside cottage, time bends. The snow outside becomes a kind of curtain. The world narrows to a single room, and inside, families gather not to impress, but to be present. This is the beginning of Christmas in the Czech Republic, a land where bells do not ring to announce, but to remind, where silence is not emptiness, but sacred space, where December is not a race toward the 25th, but a descent into meaning, and where the first gift is not wrapped, but felt. Long before carols were sung in chapels and candles lit in Advent wreaths, the land we now call the Czech Republic marked the darkness of winter with fire. The early Slavic peoples of Bohemia and Moravia lived closely with the rhythms of the earth. In the heart of December, when days were short and cold, pressed against wooden walls, they gathered not just to survive, but to celebrate the turning of time. Solstice rituals filled the forests, fires lit on hillsides to call back the sun, evergreen boughs hung indoors to protect against spirits, and food shared to honor the cycle of life. These weren't distractions. They were acts of belief in light, in warmth, in the unseen. And when Christianity spread through Central Europe in the 9th and 10th centuries, it did not erase these practices. It absorbed them. It gently transformed fire into flame, ritual into rite, season into symbol. What once honored the sun became a celebration of the sun. And so, the Christmas story began to take root in Czech soil, not as a foreign import, but as an evolution of something already deeply sacred. By the 11th century, nativity celebrations had begun in earnest across the region. Churches rose, often built atop former pagan sites, and December 24th slowly became more than just the longest night. It became Tidderden, the generous day. A name that still carries echoes of both the Christian message of giving and the ancient practice of seasonal offering. During the medieval period, Christmas in Bohemia became a time of immense cultural energy. Monasteries copied hymns and liturgical texts. Artisans began crafting wooden nativity scenes called betlemy, not just for churches but for private homes. And public processions through snowy town squares celebrated not only the birth of Christ, but the spiritual resilience of a people who had learned to carry light through the darkest months. Under the Habsburg monarchy, Catholic traditions flourished, and Czech Christmas became richly ceremonial. The lighting of Advent candles, the singing of Latin mass, the retelling of the gospel through song and sculpture, all deepened the emotional texture of the season. But even as Catholicism shaped the ritual, the folk spirit remained. Rural communities continued to blend old customs with new meaning. On Christmas Eve, candles floated on walnut shells to predict the journey ahead. Apples were sliced to read signs of health and unity. And in every act, whether Christian or ancestral, there was a reverence for stillness, for mystery, for transition. Then came centuries of upheaval. Wars, occupations, and eventually, the rise of communism. Religious expression was pushed underground. Churches emptied. Nativities were discouraged. And yet, Christmas survived. It survived because it had never been just about dogma. It was about home, about memory, about things passed hand to hand, whispered across generations. During the communist years, Czech families continued to celebrate in private. They decorated trees, baked traditional cookies, and told the story of Gek, the little Jesus who brings gifts on Tidderden. A figure both sacred and folkloric, Gek allowed families to maintain spiritual meaning without overt religious language, a clever and quiet resistance. After the Velvet Revolution in 1989, the religious and spiritual aspects of Christmas began to re-emerge more openly. Churches filled again for midnight mass. Public nativity scenes returned to town squares. And yet, the Christmas that endured was not a return to the past. It was a hybrid, a season where pagan roots, Christian tradition, and modern imagination all coexist in quiet harmony. Today, to walk through a Czech village in December is to walk through centuries. The stars above are the same ones once watched by ancient Slavs. The candles on the table burn with the same glow once carried into midnight mass by medieval monks. And the snow, always the snow, still falls, as it did before anyone ever wrote a hymn. The Czech Christmas is a layered inheritance of light pulled from darkness, of stories shaped by fire and faith, of a people who, no matter the season or regime, found a way to mark this time as holy, not always in the religious sense, but always in the human one. As the last light of Christmas Eve disappears behind the rooftops of Prague or the distant hills of Moravia, something ancient begins to stir in the stillness. A quiet procession of footsteps through the snow, families making their way, slowly, reverently, to the sacred warmth of a church. Midnight Mass, or Pe Lono Nieme, is one of the most intimate and powerful moments of the Czech Christmas. It is not spectacle. It is sanctuary. Even among those who do not attend church throughout the year, this one night calls them home. Inside centuries-old chapels and towering cathedrals, candles are lit. The scent of pine and beeswax mingles with the echo of organ music, and then voices rise not in performance, but in remembrance. Songs that are older than memory, sung not with perfection, but with devotion. There is no sermon louder than the silence between notes. No decoration more beautiful than the flicker of flame reflected in stained glass. The centerpiece of the Czech Christmas Mass is often not spoken word, but music, especially one song, heard in every corner of the country, Narodil se Christus Pan, Christ the Lord is born. A hymn that predates the 15th century. It is sung slowly, lovingly, like a lullaby to the universe. It reminds the listener not just of the Nativity, but of what it means to keep faith alive across centuries. For many, this is not merely a religious observance. It is a return to childhood, to family, to something inside that longs to believe again. After Mass, streets are quiet. The snow glows softly under lamplight. People walk home slowly, holding on to the stillness. There is no rush, no urgency, only presence. And back at home, as the candles continue to burn low, families engage in rituals of tenderness. One of the most enduring is the apple tradition. On te dere den, a fresh apple is sliced crosswise. If the core reveals a perfect star, it is a sign of health and unity for the year ahead. If the star is broken, it may symbolize hardship or separation. The ritual is not performed with fear, but with gentle reverence. It is a mirror, not of fate, but of fragility and connection. Then there is the tradition of placing a scale from the Christmas carp, the fish eaten at dinner, under the plate or into the wallet. It is said to bring prosperity in the coming year. A curious blend of Christian feast and folk superstition. It speaks to the Czech ability to merge the mystical with the material, the sacred with the small. At so-made tablets, walnut shells are filled with candles and floated in bowls of water. Each shell represents a family member. The way they drift together, apart, or circling is watched with quiet attention. A soft, visual metaphor for relationships, paths, and the uncertainty of life. These rituals are humble and perhaps strange to outsiders, but they are deeply Czech expressions of a culture that has long relied on subtlety, on layered, meaning on surviving by holding fast to inner traditions when outer ones were stripped away, and they are all anchored in one thing: the power of light and darkness. Whether in the glowing windows of a countryside chapel or the shimmer of a walnut shell drifting across water, the Czech Christmas is not a celebration of noise. It is a recognition of presence, of what we still have, of who we still are, and of how, in the deepest part of winter, the human spirit insists on creating rituals of hope. So when the last apple is sliced and the last candle extinguished, what remains is not just memory, it is menina, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that waits quietly to be remembered every Christmas Eve. In the Czech Republic, Christmas Eve is not defined by sugar or excess, but by a single, humble creature: the carp. Yes, the Christmas table here does not boast grand roasts or overflowing platters. It is centered around a freshwater fish, quiet, unpretentious, and deeply symbolic. In Czech homes, fried carp with potato salad is not just a meal. It is a ritual, a memory, a kind of edible prayer. The story begins days before Christmas. Throughout towns and cities, you'll find large barrels set up in public squares, their waters dark and rippling. Inside them, live carp swim slowly, their scales glinting under the cold winter light. People gather not just to buy, but to witness. It is a scene repeated every year, unchanged, elemental. Children press their faces to the glass. Parents select their fish with care. Some families take them home alive, placing them in bathtubs, not as novelty, but as tradition. For a few days, the carp becomes part of the household. It swims silently in the bathroom, watched over like a guest from another world. Children name them. Some familias, particularly those with young children or a sentimental heart, release the carp back into rivers on the morning of Christmas Eve, a symbolic act of mercy, of letting go, of honoring life. But in most homes, the fish is eventually prepared, coated in flour, dipped in egg, covered in breadcrumbs, and fried until golden. It is served with creamy potato salad, pickles, and lemon. Simple, consistent, beloved. To outsiders, It may seem strange, but here it is the taste of Christmas, and it is surrounded by ritual. Beneath each plate, a carp scale is placed, often saved and dried from years past, meant to bring financial fortune in the year ahead. Some tuck it into their wallets, some leave it by the window. The act is small, but heavy with meaning. It says, we remember the past, and we invite good into the future. And then there are the walnut shells. After dinner, family members crack walnuts and scoop out the halves. Small candles are placed inside and lit. Then each person floats their candle boat in a bowl of water. It's a moment of quiet watching. The way the shells drift, whether they stay close or move apart, is said to reveal the closeness or distance of loved ones in the coming year. It's not fortune-telling, it's reflection made visual. If a candle flickers out, there is a pause. If two drift together, hands may touch beneath the table. There are no dramatic declarations, just observation, stillness, connection. These customs speak to something deeper than food or superstition. They speak to a national character that has learned to carry meaning, not with grandeur, but with subtlety. A culture shaped by history, by resistance, by decades of surviving through the preservation of inner life. Because, for so long, Czech families had to keep their traditions quiet. Through wars, regimes, censorship, Christmas was celebrated in kitchens, not cathedrals, in whispered songs, not choirs. And so every part of the meal became charged with intention, a way of remembering who they were, even when the world tried to forget. Today, these traditions endure, not because they are fashionable or easy, but because they are true. Because when a child watches a candle float across water, or when the crisp skin of fried carp breaks under a fork, they are not just tasting food, they are touching history. And through these gestures, the scale beneath the plate, the shell in the bowl, the fish that swam in the tub just yesterday, something miraculous happens. The gap between past and present disappears. The meal becomes a story, the table becomes sacred ground. And Christmas, once again, becomes a moment of shared belief, not in spectacle, but in quiet, edible symbols of endurance and light. In the Czech Republic, Christmas does not rise like a crescendo. It builds slowly, softly, not through noise, but through song. And when it finally arrives, it doesn't announce itself with fireworks or fanfare. Instead, it arrives as a melody, drifting gently through narrow streets, echoing beneath archways, gliding over rooftops, dusted in snow. Because in this land, Christmas is heard before it is seen. For centuries, music has been the lifeblood of Czech Christmas. It fills homes, churches, courtyards, and hearts. But more than performance, it is participation, a communal remembering of stories too sacred for silence. And it begins long before December 24th. During Advent, choirs gather in churches both grand and humble. Towns organize caroling nights where neighbors walk together, lanterns in hand, singing through villages. In the snowy air, every voice becomes sacred. You do not need to sing perfectly, only honestly. The oldest and most beloved Czech carol is Narodil se Christus pan Christ, the Lord is born. Its melody is gentle, childlike, almost like a lullaby. But behind its simplicity lies something enduring, centuries of belief, resistance, and tenderness. This carol survived invasions, communism, and cultural shifts, not because it was protected, but because it was carried from heart to heart, voice to voice, home to home. In villages, small brass bands gather outdoors, their instruments bright against the cold. They play both sacred hymns and folk carols, tunes that make children dance and elders pause. In Prague, the city fills with the hum of holiday concerts, in churches, in theaters, and spontaneously in the streets. One song flows into another, sacred into secular, past into present. Some carols tell the story of the Nativity, others describe local legends, shepherds in the snow, bells in the mountains, the light that guides the faithful through the longest night. Many are regional, known only within small valleys or specific families, and yet the melodies carry something universal. the longing to belong. Perhaps the most magical moment comes on Čtědrý, Christmas Eve. As night falls, many Czech towns host open-air caroling events in the town square. Families bundle in layers, carrying thermoses of tea or mulled wine. Some sing, others simply listen, but everyone is together, holding a space that feels older than the stones beneath their feet. It's here, in the cold air and the glow of nearby candles, that you begin to understand. These aren't just songs, they are vessels. They carry memory. They hold silence between the verses. They remind a people whose history includes suppression, silence, and survival that the voice is a form of freedom. And inside homes, after the final meal has been shared and the candles have been lit, music continues in smaller, more intimate ways. Families gather around a piano or sing softly by the tree. Grandparents teach the youngest a verse they once learned from their own parents. Sometimes, the room grows quiet not from reverence, but from emotion, the weight of years, the ache of remembering someone no longer there. But even in that ache, music comforts. Because in Czech tradition, Christmas music is not meant to be grand. It is meant to be true. It is sung with cracked voices and full hearts. It is played on old instruments that remember better years. It is hummed in kitchens and whispered in the dark. And in doing so, it becomes not just sound, but connection. And this is what the streets know. That when the songs begin, Christmas begins. Not because of the notes or the lyrics, but because of what they awaken. In the Czech Republic, the voice is not decoration. It is devotion. And in every carol, from cathedrals to courtyards, there is a quiet, enduring promise. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. The song is still being sung. There are few places in the world where the art of Christmas is as tactile, as deliberate, and as deeply cherished as it is in the Czech Republic. Here, beauty is made by hand shaped in glass, tied in straw, carved in wood and preserved in silence. While much of the modern world races toward mass-produced sparkle, the Czech tradition lingers patiently in the realm of craft. To enter a Czech home during December is to walk into a living gallery of memory. Each ornament has a history, each decoration a story, and many of them come from a single, glittering root, the centuries-old tradition of Bohemian glassmaking. In the northern regions of the country, especially around Jablonec nad Nisou, nestled in the Jezera Mountains, glass artisans have been shaping Christmas for generations. Since the 19th century, tiny workshops here have produced some of the finest hand-blown glass ornaments in the world. Bulbous icicles, stars each one delicate as breath, shimmering with silver and gold, painted with brushes so fine they could write on snow. These are not disposable objects. They are heirlooms, passed from grandparents to grandchildren, carefully wrapped in tissue each January, and lovingly unwrapped every Advent. Each one a fragment of time, of story, of someone's care. And yet, as revered as glass is, it is not the only material that matters. In villages across Bohemia and Moravia, you'll find stars made from straw, bound with red thread or ribbon. Their simplicity stands in perfect contrast to the sparkle of glass. Straw is humble, earthy, symbolic of the manger where Christ was laid. And so, to hang a straw ornament is not merely decorative, it is an act of remembrance. Children in schools and homes often create them themselves. Fingers fold and twist the pieces. The act becomes a lesson in patience, in precision, in connecting with something older than plastic. Then there are the nativity scenes, or in the Czech Republic, they are more than a single tableau. They are landscapes, entire miniature worlds carved from wood, molded from clay, or constructed from paper. Some include dozens of figures, shepherds, townspeople, musicians, even animals not found in the original gospel. Over time, these Betlemi have absorbed local character. A shepherd may wear traditional Czech garb, or a baker might carry a loaf of Vánoce bread. These scenes are often displayed in homes and churches, but also in public squares, where artisans unveil massive, intricate nativity dioramas that draw families from across the region. In Epichovice Podorybem, there is even a museum of nativity scenes, a national treasure housing mechanical wooden Betlemi that move with cranks and gears, like old music boxers filled with devotion. And then there is the snow. Not an ornament, not a decoration, but a backdrop. Silent, soft, persistent. It covers rooftops, rests gently on branches, blurs the edge between present and memory. It is part of the aesthetic, part of why Czech Christmas feels like it happens in a different time. Even when the snow doesn't fall, its image lives in the decor. In paper stars, in lace snowflakes, in the cool whites and blues of winter linens. The overall atmosphere is not one of it is cozy, quiet, personal. The Christmas tree is often smaller, but thoughtfully dressed. Advent calendars are handmade. Table settings include dried oranges, cloves, and linen napkins, not out of fashion, but tradition. Nothing shouts. Everything glows. This is a Christmas not built on trends, but on ritual objects, touchable, handmade, and rooted in meaning. And in this, there is something revolutionary, because in a world driven by speed, the Czech holiday insists on slowness. In a world obsessed with novelty, it chooses heritage. In a world of noise, it whispers, "Let the hands remember what they've always known." So when the candlelight reflects off a single hand-blown ornament, or a straw star turns gently as someone walks by, it is not just decoration. It is a language. A reminder that joy is something you make with your own hands, carefully, patiently, quietly. And that beauty, like belief, is often most powerful when it's simple. Not every country celebrates with noise. Not every Christmas needs glitter to shine, and not every tradition must shout to be remembered. In the Czech Republic, Christmas teaches us a quieter way. A celebration shaped not by spectacle, but by stillness. It whispers its stories in the glow of candlelight, in the hush of falling snow, in the space between two notes of a centuries-old carol. It reminds us that meaning doesn't always arrive wrapped in ribbon. Sometimes it floats in a walnut shell, flickering toward the future. Here, the sacred lives in simplicity, in golden apples and humble fish, in songs carried by memory, not microphones, in hand-blown ornaments that remember more than they reveal, in rituals that hold joy and grief in the same soft breath. The Czech Christmas is not just a holiday, it is a mirror one that shows us who we are when we slow down, when we sit, when we listen, when we choose the candle over the spotlight. And in this mirror, we might see ourselves more clearly than in any screen or season sale. So wherever you are, whatever your Christmas looks like, take a moment to pause, to notice the flicker, to feel the hush, and to remember that somewhere, in a village lit by snow and song, a child is watching a walnut candle float, believing that even in uncertainty, something beautiful is coming. If this story resonated with you, let us know. Drop a comment, sharing where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Tell us what Christmas feels like in your home, what you carry forward, what you quietly remember. And if you want to keep discovering how different cultures hold on to wonder, one tradition at a time, like this video, comment your favorite part, subscribe, and join us again tomorrow as we travel to another corner of the world where Christmas still whispers.